I'll just walk in front of you one more time.
Oh, thanks. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's the King Koopa. Thank you for stopping by. So we got another video on the little black truck. We're going to be rust proofing our new Quadrasteer bed. We just did that swap last video. If you're interested, I'll put a link in the description below to that video. So we're going to be rust proofing everything. And we just got the bed Line-X, and this is probably one of the cleanest Quadrasteer beds that I could find around. But we're going to be pulling her off and undercoating the bottom with POR15, getting that little bit of surface rust cleaned up. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. We're going to get started. We already removed the 8 bed bolts underneath, and then
we're going to take it off.
Thank you. Thank you, Dad.
Well, yeah, you were like at a break part right there. Sorry.
Anyways, we already moved the tail lights. We removed the tailgate. We already had the roll pan removed from the previous video. You do not have to remove the bumper if you're wanting to pull your bed off, but you are going to have to remove the tailgate and the tail lights so you can get to the harness on the inside. If you did not know, the Quadrasteer does have composite bed sides with a metal inside, so you could really pick that up with 2 people if you wanted to, but we are going to use the engine hoist just to make sure everything's safe, because we will have to clear the tires when we pull the truck forward. We also have my buddy Jason with me. He's going to be helping me out, and I do have my pops with me. He's going to be sitting back and telling us how we're doing it wrong. Some words of encouragement from him. So let's get started. We'll pull the bed off and flip it over, start getting it rust proof.
That was a little too spot on. I couldn't keep it in that time, but we've got my pops here with us. He's going to be telling us how we're doing it wrong.
We got the bed off on the floor upside down, and she really isn't that bad. She does have some surface rust right there. Thanks, bud.
Finish what you were doing, all right?
Give me like a minute. Alright, so we are going to take the heat shield off since our exhaust does stop way at the front by the cab and comes out the side. There's not really much point of having that heat shield on there. So we're going to take these rusted bolts out, probably put stainless steels back in. And we are just going to touch up a lot of this surface rust on the corners where it's kind of bad, which, I mean, still really isn't even that bad. Like, that's kind of dark. So we'll wheel all that off. And then, yeah, so we are going to pull the harness off as well just to get that out of the way so the painter doesn't have to deal with that or cut it or end up messing it up or something. So, on the Quadrasteer bed, they do have this kind of tacky plastic wire loom cover, so we're going to pull that out as well. All right, let's get going. The harness was pretty easy to remove, and after that we moved on to the heat shield, which I ended up breaking 2 Torx bits on, so we had to grind the bolt heads off. Most of the studs we were able to pull out with a set of vice grips. After that, Jason and I started to work on the rust. I had a grinder wheel and he had a wire wheel, so we did a 2-in-1 combo. And right here you'll see that I start to cut the inner rib, the support section on the inside of the bed. I actually had to remove this because I am going to be doing an underbed notch so that we can go lower. And before we move on to the metal prep, one of the last steps that we're going to do is there are some lips on the inside of the composite bed sides. We are going to mark those with a Sharpie and then hit them with our oscillating multi-tool, and we're going to remove that little tab right there. Just trying to gain us a little extra clearance for when we do run some wider tires, so that way we don't have any fitment issues. And moving on to our next step, you will notice that there is a green dust on the bottom side of the truck bed. That is because we took a Scotch-Brite pad and roughened up the entire bottom surface of the truck bed. That way when we do use the metal prep, it's going to allow it to bite a little bit harder. For this metal prep, it's some pretty nasty stuff, so we're going to make sure that we use some thick gloves, glasses, our respirator, in a well-ventilated area. I'm going to be turning the fan on as well. We're going to soak the bed down in this in a little hand sprayer. It says to keep it wet for about 15 to 30 minutes. After that, we will be hosing it out, letting it dry, and then we can put our 2 coats of POR15 on. Some of those bolts were pretty rusty, so we went to get some of those off, and like 4 of them snapped off. And this was honestly the cleanest bed we could find, so we might as well just take all the bolts out, and we're going to replace them all with stainless steel ones, so we're also going to put new fender support rods in as well. I did end up buying a full gallon of POR15. I wasn't exactly sure how much I was going to need. Realistically, I only used about a quart on the entire bedside with 2 coats. So it's a good thing that I went to Lowe's and bought 3 spare quart containers that I was able to pour the POR15 into, just so that I can preserve it for later. The main reason that I did that is because if you get POR15 on the lip of the paint can and you put the lid back on and it dries, you will never get that lid off. You will have to cut the whole top of the paint can off just to get all the fluid out. I did end up buying about 2 of the nicer brushes, and it took Juliet and I about an hour to do each coat. You're supposed to allow the POR15 to slightly dry between 2 to 6 hours before the second coat. So in the meantime, we took the brushes, wrapped them up in a plastic bag, and stuck them inside the fridge. Putting your brushes in the fridge will actually keep them fresh for like 3 or 4 days, which worked out great for us because we ended up doing that when we were painting our house. We did put them in the garage fridge though, so it wasn't next to any food. For our last step, we did get a little bit of the POR15 down inside all the threads of the nuts. So we took our 8 by 1.25, which is the thread pitch of our metric tap, ran that through all the threads just to make sure everything was nice and clean. And for our final step, as we were installing all the new stainless steel hardware, we ended up going with pan heads on the outside for a smooth look and the Allen heads on the inside. As I'm installing all these bolts, you may notice that I'm dipping all the bolts in anti-seize. That is going to help the life and longevity of the bolts from corroding or seizing. She is looking pretty nice. It's nice. I like it. I like it. I'm actually really happy with the whole outcome. We got the nice Line X on top and we got the POR15 on bottom. This bed is completely rust free now and she should last me a really long time. One of the good things about having composite bedsides is that they will never rust. So if the bedsides do get damaged, I can always swap them out with new ones. They are pretty pricey, about $600 a side for these Quadrasteers. But I will never have to worry about rust accumulating in the fender wells. And that is a wrap on this video, guys. I think it turned out really well. Definitely a fun, I don't know if you want to say weekend project, but taking the bed off is very time consuming, especially trying to flip it over, make sure it was rust free, and then trying to get it flipped back over, I think was actually the hard part with those composite bedsides because we didn't want to damage them. If you had some buddies and all weekend, definitely, but if you're by yourself like me, probably like a whole week project. Doing it just in your spare time. Really wasn't that hard of a job. I want to say maybe a 6 out of a 10 on my scale. And make sure you read the labels, follow the instructions, use all your PPE. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate your support. Stay tuned for the rest of the build. The 6.0 is still at the engine shop. Still have a couple more weeks to wait. And the bed hopefully should be getting painted soon. So stay tuned for that because she's about to be bad. Thanks for watching. Please hit that like button if you enjoyed it and the subscribe button if you want to see the rest of the build. Hope you guys are having a great day and I'll catch you later.